All right, welcome back to the Smoke and Mirrors podcast, your destination for the latest in streaming and movie news and reviews. We are your hosts, Rob and Triz. This week, we give you our thoughts on our regular TV series and anime for the week, and also discuss if Renfield is dead on arrival, and if white men can't jump, can they at least make an entertaining movie? We'll see. Now let's start the show. How you going there, Bado? The doozy of a toozy, ripping through the scene.
This is good, man. Fucking just been playing a lot of Zelda, working. Fucking had big 10-hour sleeps as well, so I'm energized.
I was just pitching at the highest level. That's bad. This week done felt long.
It did actually. Thinking about it now, I'm thankful I got tomorrow off. Fuck that.
I wish I had tomorrow off. I just a headache.
Why are you coughing if you got a headache? It's so sore.
My sinus, excuse me. All right. Kicking it off with our thoughts there. So, Succession, the number one show off the block. Succession this week was about Logan's funeral. So they finally tackled it. They've been prepping it, and they've kind of been sort of not hinting at it because you know it was coming, but they've been stepping you up to it. Con's been doing all this preparation and whatnot, and eventually we get to see it. And it's almost as if like they're burying a fucking pope. So all of this is kind of happening in the aftermath of ATN, which is the news organization that they own, uh, basically jumping the gun and telling everyone that Mencken is president. He's won the votes and everything. So people are just like like fucking rioting in the streets while there's this funeral going on. And the funeral, like it's this weird mix of you'd think they'd be emotional, like they're burying their dad. But in the whole episode, it's almost like they're looking at opportunities to both one up each other and fuck each other over. Like Roman's got the eulogy that he's going to deliver. Kendall's Kendall's trying to get Mencken to block the deal that they got going on with Matson's, that they can step into that CEO position permanently. And then Shiv's also trying to help Matson get the deal across so she can get like the CEO position in his newly organized company.
What do
And
you
it's
call it? Sorry, Doug. I was just gonna say, like, from what I've been hearing, it's like I think it's typical sociopathic behavior to not feel the regular emotion at a funeral and to rather
yeah,
focus on the. But it could be like a mixture of disbelief as well for all of them. Like maybe they still don't think dad's dead, and they're
yeah,
kind of just running it like normal.
yeah. Well, that's what I thought as well. I was like, these motherfuckers are so cold, right? Because the episode even starts off with Kieran Culkin's character Roman, like singing and practicing his speech and doing his sort of self care routine and stuff like that before the funeral. And then the funeral kind of like the procession starts happening and they're carrying the casket down and he gets up to give the eulogy and just breaks the fuck down. Like, it was Kieran Culkin at a really high level. Like there was tears,
Wow.
like tears running down his nose because he was at that angle where he's sort of like hunched over. It
Yeah.
was like this is the most that you've seen from that character the whole show, the whole series. And then it provides this really, really cool opportunity for Kendall to kind of step in and do the eulogy for Roman, who had something that was really sort of stock standard, but their uncle had done had said a few words before that was completely honest and just basically said like I don't like my brother and he did like a lot of harm to this world. But Kendall gets up there and he starts off like really honest like his uncle, but then sort of spins it. He puts that spin on it, and like it's received really, really well by the audience. And I was like, at that point, I was like, this is the O that needs to be CEO. Like that's Kendall. Like that's the one that should rise to the top. And then Shiv gets up. Now Shiv's kind of been on like this downward spiral for me because she's just been manipulative and a total fucking like she's just been a Judas. Anyway, she gets up there and she says a few words, and I feel like it's at that point where like that's her also being manipulative. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm looking at it through a different sort of lens now from the last episode. But to me, it was shifty.
Mm,
Like it was still the same shisty shit that she's been doing. Um, but yeah, the episode then moves on to the wake, the party after the funeral, and it's kind of it's made clear there that Jared Mencken, who said that he would block this deal with Matson, right,
mm.
isn't 100% on board and willing to help. Like he's sort of going, yeah, I said I'd give it a try, but like that's not concrete enough for Kendall. So Kendall's like in panic mode. But I also like there's this moment there where he's talking to who's soon to be president. He's talking to him, and all of the siblings and the fucking cousin and everything jump in to get their 2 pounds of flesh and sort themselves out. But Kendall's got real shit to sort of get onto,
Yeah.
and then he kind of what's his faces he gets that guy Mencken gets stolen away by Shiv. So Menken's almost doing a deal with the devil now because he goes to speak with Matson. And Matson puts some shit in his ear and he likes it. So at the end of the episode, he's actually like Matson calls up Shiv and is like, "Yeah, good to go." So that was a bit wild. Um, in the meantime, though, and it was weird because I felt a certain way about Kendall, and I was like, "Fuck, his head's in the right place. He's doing the right shit." But then the O just like at the end of the episode, he starts trying to fuck over Roman. So he's just like it's just the games, the skirmishes that just keep going, the character assassinations, all of it is fucking wild.
Jesus.
I know. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Even at a funeral, it doesn't stop. It's crazy. Like that world must be the most like solitary world ever.
Yeah. That sounds nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Ted Lasso, brilliant episode, really, really stand out. This one, there was a bit more Ted in it than usual, and his mother actually comes to town in this one, which was really, really cool. He's trying to figure out why because she's being so nice and she's not asking for anything, and she's kind of just playing a little bit coy, and Ted knows that, so he's like always like on the defensive with her. It's a very Jamie Tart and Nate centric episode. So Jamie Tart's like their star soccer player in AFC Richmond, but Roy Kent notices that he's being a bit too fucking um, like he's playing it down a bit too much, and you find out like he's lost his like his verve and his vigor. Never ever would I say those fucking words. But he's lost that drive to kind of destroy um like his soccer goals in a good way. So he like they're almost on like this watch for him. So they're gonna play Manchester City and they go to the city. That was Jamie's team before he kind of fucked it all up and went on a dating show and got kicked out. Um so then yeah, they're kind of following him, Roy and Keeley, and they go meet his mom, and it was crazy because this episode was about mothers in like almost polar opposite ways, but ideally it was almost like thematically they were saying mothers are the thing that grounds you, like they ground you and remind you of home and sort of bring you back to life. I mean, I don't know, I've left home, but for me, like I can identify with that whenever I call home. It's almost like I can like feel it,
Mm,
and I'm not sort of there, and that's like I think the grounded this needed for both Jamie and Ted. because Jamie's mom basically says, like, like, you are who you are, your father is who he is, and you need to move on because you've got a future. And Ted kind of reminds Jamie as well in the episode, and like, this is something I 100% believe in. Forgiveness isn't the gift that you give to the other person, it's the gift that you give yourself.
Mm.
So when you let go of that anger, like, it unlocks a lot more potential, and Jamie sees that in this episode. And it's been a crazy arc for that character because he started off and he just wanted to punch this prick in the face, and
Mm.
now it's like you're relating to him on a more human level.
Yeah.
It was really really cool. Nate the Judas. There was a big thing. It's been running the whole season about, like, Nate and his sort of story, his meteoric rise to fame as the coaching manager of West Ham United. And in this episode, he's dealing with reintegrating back into normal life, but he's only using like this job he gets as a waiter with his girlfriend to hide away from what he really, really wants, which is to go back to coaching. Even if that means, well, not even if that means, but he wants to go back to Richmond, but he's just been dodging it. That was just real prideful. And then, yeah, the barrier to him actually going back to Richmond is Coach Beard, who fucking hates him. So Coach Beard is Ted's like co-coach, and he hates him. But then through this whole Nate thing,
Hmm.
like, you actually get to know a lot more about Coach Beard. You realize that him and Ted were in like kids football together. That's how they met. And then
Mm.
they were in high school and stuff like that. And Ted went on to kind of go study coaching and do coaching gigs. And Beard went on to go to prison and then like yeah, full become an addict and everything. And
Far
Ted
out.
was Ted was the one that gives him a second chance.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like knowing that, like Beard kind of goes to Nate and gets him back onto the team. He said, "I'm paying it forward now, and I'm going to give you an opportunity," which I thought was really really cool. So this is the penultimate episode. Next week is the finale, and this
Damn.
one this one ended with a big sort of um, I've got a truth bomb for you from Ted to the manager of Richmond FC. So I was just
Mm.
like that next episode, I better give me like full on Ted. I need Ted to the max, but it's also the finals for Richmond because they beat Man City.
Oh nice. Yeah.
So there's so many shits, like so many like chainsaws in the air being juggled right now, and I was just like there's a fine line. This can end really, really great, or it can
Hmm.
just end and just be fucking wild
Yeah.
and just be completely deflated. So I don't want it to be that.
Yeah. Fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah. Silo was a very sort of um Juliet focused episode. She's new to the sheriff role and she's kind of trying to find her feet and work things out with all the support that's afforded to her. She's got a lot of shit kind of happening at the same time with Deputy Mons, who's played by Will Patton,
Mm.
uh, doing his thing, and like it goes more into her childhood and why she was in mechanical all the way down at the bottom, learning that machine and doing her thing. And it was a pretty cool episode, but that's the last time that I'm going to speak about Silo until the season finale because it seems like a slow burn show, much like Yellow
Mm.
Jackets. Like I will speak about Yellow Jackets next week, but I'm not going to speak about Silo until it wraps up. Just because every episode they give you a little bit and they give you a little bit, and it feels like you're going to be saying the same thing every week. Just
Fair
like
enough.
how I felt about Yellow Jackets, but I'm enjoying this a lot more than Yellow Jackets season two. Tell you that. Still, which is the Michael J. Fox documentary, a really solid documentary, but if you've read any of Michael J. Fox's autobiographies, like I have, it's treading the same territory.
Mm,
So this is not going to give you anything new. It's done very very well. There's a Oscar-winning director at the helm of this, and they have nice little infographics and sort of acted out set pieces and whatnot that make it feel really really solid. It's nice to see Michael J. Fox on like just through the movie getting interviewed, and this is the cool thing is that it shows you the little intricacies of his condition.
mm,
So as debilitating as it is, the man is still like putting in work every day, exercising, like he's doing what he has to do. He's still living a normal family life. Um, and then it shows you his like his treatment, stuff like that.
mm.
So man, it was good. Like it was a 90-minute documentary. It wasn't overly long or anything. It was nice and light. It was emotional, but nothing that was a massive revelation. Like if you know Michael J. Fox's career, his trajectory, like even he himself, like I think you'll enjoy this, but I don't think you'll be like, oh man, like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Um,
I like what's the best way to put it? I like how Michael J. Fox himself adds levity to his own condition as well by still using that in like, his craft. Like what's that Larry Bird show? Not Larry Bird. Is it Larry Bird?
Larry
The
David.
Larry David, yeah. Larry Bird, the basketball player.
I was
Fuck,
thinking, like, when the fuck did Larry Bird have have a sitcom or something? It's all about the birds. That's for the birds.
Free throws and free co's. But
Larry Bird After Dark.
it's the episode with when you see him and he like waves at Larry David, and then Larry David walks over. He's like, "Why'd you shake your head at me?" And he's like, "I got Parkinson's. This was a Parkinson shake. It wasn't like a Larry shake. It was a Parkinson shake." And then you see him later in the episode hand him a cup of coffee. No, hands him a Coke. And he
Yeah.
opens it and it explodes like that. Did you shake this on purpose?
Yeah.
Parkinson's.
There's bits in there where the guy's like, you would have had a punchline for that, wouldn't you? But it's your condition that's stopping you. And he's like, yeah. Like it takes him so long for him to kind of get there. But he says he needs dopamine to get his brain to start functioning.
Oh
And he
wow.
can't produce that naturally. Yeah. It was pretty solid. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but like for anyone that doesn't know anything about Michael J. Fox, this is a perfect place to kind of like step in, learn yourself. Uh, the next was Nikki Caro's The Mother, starring Jennifer Lopez. Spy thriller slash action. Setup is nice. The story I think was quite solid, and had it not been for the multi-camera editing that they put in this, I think it would have elevated the piece. So they cut way too much in this movie.
Mm,
So much so that the action sequences kind of get a little bit muddled and lost. And I know Nikki Caro isn't a sort of established action director or anything like that. She did do a pretty good job with Mulan,
mm,
and that was quite solid, and that had massive action set pieces. And it feels like that's not the same director in this, or maybe she was trying to sort of make it a bit more edgy and fast paced with the editing, but it just took me out of the movie, and because of that, it just dragged. Yeah, I thought this was going to be like J Lo sort of destroying everyone, right? But it wasn't. It actually wasn't. It plays to a lot of her vulnerabilities, like physical wise.
mm,
But I kind of wish that for the finale, because the finale is pretty like forgettable. I kind of wish for the finale they would have gone more long kiss goodnight,
mm.
which
Okay.
has almost similar but not setup,
Okay.
where the person that is a lot more capable kind of steps in at the end to do what she needs to do for her family. Like that's kind of what I wanted to see at the end of this.
Yeah.
Scale wise, it wasn't the same, and like it'll never live up to Long Kiss Goodnight. But I really wish I could have liked this more. But the mother is just it's gonna be another forgettable Netflix sort of DTV esque movie.
Mm. And just the thing, I think this was the second film to get dropped under artist equity as well.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to say it's a bad start for them, but more so like it's a different kind of film, I guess, when it comes
yeah,
to their releases.
yeah.
Because you go from Air to this, and then whatever else they have moving forward from there as well.
Yeah, maybe Ben got to like sort of do a little bit of a vetting process before he just greenlights his wife's stuff.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's all I have to say for the mother. She got
Nice.
an anime Kona.
Um, I'll quickly say a few words about Oshinoko. It was very much the same, and that's why I'm going to start with this. There wasn't a lot of progression, not a lot of development. It was just once again reality dating show, and the forthcomings of that. So that's all I have for that right now. But hopefully the next episode is better. But
Okay.
so Hell's Paradise. I feel like this episode really focused on the family that you choose. So they stray away from the beaten path with our regular characters, and they actually give you more of a character progression for two of the other executioners and the prisoner,
Mm.
um, which are somewhere else on the island. So one of them, Shion, he's completely blind, but he's a samurai, and he moves and he fights through sense of smell and sound, and he's the rank number 4 in the Yamato executioners clan. He's really cool. He's a bad motherfucker, man.
What's
And
his weapon? Sword?
sword, yeah, it's
Okay.
cool. But so and then you see, sorry, I forgot the name of the other executioner that's with them and the prisoner, but they encounter one of those gods that I mentioned from the last episode.
Mm.
They start fighting on this beach, and then they realize that they just can't kill her because every slash she just regenerates straight away. And it's very much the same of they're able to change from woman to man as well, almost like they're just what's the word I want to say, an asexual being? Is that what it is? Where you
And
can
androgynous?
androgynous, yeah. So they can move between sexes if they are a sex. Maybe this is just the form that they choose. Because it's almost like they are the plants and the trees and all that too. Because whenever
Yeah.
they regenerate, it's almost like they're shedding plants to actually get their form back, which is really fucking trippy.
Yeah.
Um, when they realize that they can't defeat the enemy, they decide that they need to run. So they start running through this forest, and this person is still chasing them. That's when Shion shows up, and it's the coolest entrance because they're running and you see the god like run right next to them because it's just faster than them, and then you see
Mm.
the sword just go right through her, and this guy's like thrown his sword from like miles away down this forest, not miles away, that's an exaggeration, but like he was a couple meters away and throws his sword at this chick, and takes her whole head off with the throw.
Damn.
And then they're relieved. There you find out that the one executioner, Shion's his master. That's his sensei. And they're like, they're relieved, they're happy, and then he just tells them to keep fucking running. So they all just start gapping it together. They end up getting like a chance to just sit down, breathe, fucking work out what they're gonna do. And that's when it goes into a flashback. And that's when you learn about the whole like student and master relationship that they have. So this
Okay.
other executioner, he wasn't born into the clan. He wasn't born from riches. He didn't have a regular family. His family were peasants. They didn't care to feed him. They didn't care what he did. So he just left the house, and he started moving into a I guess it's like a thuggish behavior. So he would just beat people, he'd rob people so he could get his fill. So he could eat, he could sleep anytime he wanted. And that was the description he gave as well. Anyone gave him a filthy look, he would just fuck people up. Until one day someone bumps into him, and it was just the wrong person for him to fuck with. And he essentially gets like picked off by these dudes and just beat the shit out of in this alley until that Shion guy shows up and just fucks all these dudes up and then takes him in. And then that's when he's introduced into the Yamada Executioners clan. From there, he's like given the rigorous training, things like that. And he's like, why the fuck am I doing this? Why do I need to do this? And Shion was like, you can leave at any point in time if you want to. To which he says, all right, I'm gone. And Shion was like, I've got one thing though, one thing. If you can land one blow on me, then you can go. Pause. Because they're doing the full, is it kendo? Where they do the bamboo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how they're training. And he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm just gonna leave. So as he leaves, there's another executioner who's ranked 2. This guy looks cool. I haven't seen him at all in the show yet, but he just shows up for talking every now and then. They haven't like said what
Just
he's
slide
gonna
him
do.
out. I have something important to say.
And so, funnily enough, he shows up and he's like, look, I woke up a bit too early. I know you're going to leave anyway, but just take a walk with me. And so this kid is like, all right, cool. So he walks him to the cemetery and he shows him this one grave and he's like, this was Shion's last student. And it gives you the whole backstory about this student. Exact same thing with this guy. Brought him in and then he left. And then one day, a man gets brought forward for execution at the house. And Shion, being blind and like being able to sense through smell and sound, realizing it's his student that he's about to execute.
Yeah.
And so he starts to hesitate, but he still goes through with it. He chops his student's head off, his ex-student's head off. Yeah, cold. And that's when he stopped going on the forefront of being like, the executioner, and he wanted to train all the up and coming executioners. And with this kid hearing this story, he's like, all right, cool. I'm going to start putting in the work now. And that's when he started actually like, training properly to become an executioner. And then he finally lands a blow on him. And it came to that like, crescendo, and it's all happy. And then it snaps back to the present and this God is with them again. And she fucking slices open Shion's neck as they're trying to run. And then his student's like, fuck it. And he starts fighting this God again. And then she ends up like using like this move, and all you see is just holes show up all over his body. And he just starts bleeding. And he's looking over at his master and the prisoner that they're with, and they're freaking out because he's dying. And then he starts realizing he's dying. And that's when he has that I need to like the last ditch effort. And he just keeps on fighting through him dying as well. So he keeps on fighting this lady so that those two can get away.
Yeah.
And that's where the episode ends, with him dying to
Jesus.
save his friends. And that's why I'm saying this episode is very much like the family you choose as well as the paths you can take in life. Because he saw what he could have done with what happened to Shion's ex-student, but then he chose to stay. He chose the right path for him.
Hmm.
So this
Yeah.
was really cool.
So did they do a flashback inside a flashback?
yeah, they did. The double flashback.
Flashbackception. This next layer is going to get a little cloudy.
But no, that was really cool. That episode, it was very emotional, and it was cool to see them go away from the main characters to actually explain a lot of this shit too. Really like that. Demon Slayer. Now, this was all about understanding and channeling your emotions correctly. So we're left off with this massive fight with those multiple demons coming from that one guy. And it starts off with Tanjiro, and he's found the main body, and he's just about to cut this thing's head off so he can kill the rest of the demons.
Yeah.
That's when, much like every single other fucking plot twist, the demon blood that was on his sword from his sister vanishes, and he doesn't have the strength to actually cut this demon's head off. But at that same time, he senses something behind him, and it's not one of the other it's not one of the other 4 demons that he had been fighting. It's something completely new. And so he's like, fuck, what do I do? what's the choice that I have? Do I continue to try and cut this guy's head off, or do I dodge? And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to keep trying to cut this guy's head off. So he keeps on going. And then he realizes he can't. He's like, fuck, I fucked up. Now I'm just going to die because this guy's going to fuck me up. Because in that same point in time, Genya was behind all of them and he had his gun out ready to shoot this thing.
Mm.
But because Tanjiro's in the way of the bullets, he can't. So it's very much like a big fucking checkmate. And so you see this guy and he throws his hand out and Tanjiro manages to dodge and he flies up into the fucking air. And this dude has summoned these like wooden dragons out of the ground and it's chasing Tanjiro. It's like a Hydra, man. It was crazy. And then he drops again. And then you look at this guy and he's it's the same fucking demon. But then it flashes back to like a couple seconds before, I should say. And Genya is fighting two of these demons. And in the background, he sees the third one raise its hands and he draws all the other demons in. And it's almost like he fucking puts them together and he turns it into this one demon. And that's this guy now.
Megazord.
Yeah. They Voltron this motherfucker. And so this guy, he's joy, he's sadness, and he's anger and something else, and he becomes hatred. That's who he is. And he's like, he looks a lot younger than the other demons. It's very much like Dragon Ball Z when Boo turns into Kid Boo, but he's a lot stronger. That's the only way I can really describe it from the Majin Buu saga. And so this guy, like, he hasn't done much yet. Like, there's not a lot of action that we've seen. It's just a lot of talking. This guy is very much in a, I don't know, this standpoint of humans are bad because they shit on the little guy.
Yeah.
And he goes on this tirade and this rant about all of that, and Tanjiro just snaps and basically explains that, you know, you've killed hundreds, not even 200, you've killed thousands of humans, and you want to make this statement now. And you see him start to get angrier and angrier as he's like basically fucking in his rebuttal against this demon. But then still no action. It cuts. So it flips to Muichiro, who is the Mist Hashira that I've been mentioning. So he's stuck in this fucking demon sorcery where he's in a jar of water and he can't breathe. And he's wondering, how the fuck do I get out of here? Because you need to breathe to be able to use your sword arts as well. So he's like in this weird, like fucked up checkmate, and he's not like freaking out or anything. He's very calm about the fact that he knows he's going to die, and there's no real other thing that he can do. And that's when the demon's like, okay, cool, he's donezo. He was defending the shack, and he's like, I'm curious about what's going on in that house. When he goes in, there's one of the blacksmiths, and he comes out and he's trying to defend, and he fucks this dude up, and the guy falls over, and you see behind him, it's the guy working on Tanjiro's sword for him. And that sword that he got from that fucking training bot thing, he's sharpening it, and he's in this deep focus, and he's like, you know, whoever made this is the greatest swordsmith in the world. Like, it's the perfect sword. It doesn't have a name of who created it, it just has a letter. And so he's in this deep focus trying to rebuild this sword. And this demon's like, I'm just like fucking slash him. I want his attention. So he hits him a few times, and this guy just keeps on going, and he's just bleeding out. And this demon's starting to get more and more pissed off with everything that's going on. And then he keeps on hitting this guy, keeps on hitting him. And then it flashes back to Muichiro. And another swordsmith has shown up, and it's just a little kid. It's like a trainee swordsmith. And he's trying to stab through that jar, and it's not working. It's almost like jelly, like no knife is going through. And then another demon shows up behind this kid, and that's when Muichiro starts freaking out. And then he starts having these visions of like Tanjiro speaking to him and like being thankful for him and everything that he's done. And then from there, Muichiro's like, all right, fuck it, I got to get out of here. I really got to get out of here now. Because he starts going through this motion of like, he's berating this kid in his mind. He's like, you're an idiot. Why can't you hear what's behind you? And this demon ends up actually killing this kid. Like you see him stab this kid through the stomach, and this kid's bleeding
Damn.
out. And he's not caring for himself. He's still just trying to get Muichiro out of this jar. And then he ends up just saying, fuck it. He drops the knife. As he's bleeding out, he blows his last breath pause through the jar so that Muichiro can breathe it in. And then he can finally use his fucking sword art from there. And he blows open the whole jar. Once again, left on another cliffhanger. And that's where this episode ends. But
Fuck.
very much so. Like, it's channeling your emotions, things like that. So you can actually fucking fight. It was so cool, man.
Fuck yeah.
Everything's coming to a goddamn head.
Is this like coming to the end of the season?
So this was episode 7. So if I'm right, we still have episode 8, 9, 10, and 11. So 4 more episodes.
Okay. Because that sounds like that second last episode finale sort of battle. You know, like when everything's intercut like that?
Yeah.
It's like that Blade 2 ramp up.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of explodes and sort of everyone's kind of doing their thing and then it all sort of converges. You get a 5-episode ramp up there, my friend.
I know. It's fucking excellent. Like this and Hell's Paradise, I think, are really like Hell's Paradise is coming into its own. Like for a first season, it's really
Yeah.
fucking good. I'm really enjoying it. So
It seems like out of the anime, the Oshinoko is like the one that's really sort of dragging its feet and slow burn and that, which is fine. But it's just I'm all action.
yeah, I want more. Like I'm cool with the themes that it has present, but sometimes it can just be a little bit fucking slow.
Yeah, yeah,
I like that revenge theme, man. I'm all about that
yeah.
revenge.
That's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on you to say like, you stabbed it.
I'm fucking waiting for it. I want there to be just torture scenes, man.
It's the garrote wire.
It's the fucking Taken. Wake up.
Jeez.
But that's it for the anime corner.
Nice. So I checked out White Men Can't Jump. And so I was going into this movie. I liked the trailers. I liked all the publicity shit that they kind of put out. And I was really, really excited for it. Then watching the movie, it looks great. The soundtrack is a banger.
Mhm.
Obviously, they got what's popping in there by Jack Harlow.
Of course they did.
Um, the performances are really good. So I didn't believe Jack Harlow could do his thing. And Jack Harlow, Synchro Walls, both great. Both great.
Mhm.
Tiana Taylor is also in this as well.
Oh, nice.
And the chick from the love interest from Spider-Man Homecoming. Now that chick, and she was in Mike as well.
Yeah, she plays Robin Givens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
She's in here too. Uh, all great. Every
Wow.
single one of them. Yeah. Um, the cinematography, fire, the settings are mad. You get to see some mad basketball courts that are on the edge of water and stuff like that, and in different parts of LA.
Yeah.
There is something missing though. So
Mhm.
both movies deal with race and everything. Not an issue at all. It's the differences that sort of unite us in these movies. You know what I mean? Because they have to sort of become comfortable with their differences in order to put that shit on the table and then like become one essentially.
Yeah.
Um, there is this focus on there's got to be a happy ending, which I don't think serves the story really, really well. This
Okay.
isn't a story about happy endings and dreams coming true. This is a fucking story about capitalism and grind life and grind culture and what happens when you sort of when you bet everything on something and you might win but you lose something else in life. This decides it doesn't want to do that. I was like, okay, cool. The basketball shots, some of the stuff that they're doing looks mad. And you can see Jack Harlow knows how to bowl. You can see Sinqua Walls knows how to bowl. But then there's a cadence to these scenes that don't ever reach the heights of Wesley chucking that ball underneath his leg, dunking it. There's a romanticism with basketball that Ron Shelton had in White Man Can't Jump that this one just can't reach those heights. And there was this tension in the original White Man Can't Jump where they build it up for the last game, so you don't know if they're going to win, right?
Mm.
In this, so in the original, the last tournament that they kind of play, every game is fucking like tense because they could fuck it all up at any point, right? In this, it just kind of happens. There is no like they breeze through it. You know that they're gonna breeze through it because they go game one, they put the subtitle on the screen. And it's like, okay, so you're gonna montage the whole fucking tournament. All right, cool, fair enough. And they do, and they don't build up the final bad guys in the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Like they're just guys. There's not a legend behind them like there was with Duck or get his get the guys' names in there that they verse at the end.
Mm.
So it just kind of becomes like another thing.
Yeah.
And then cue the happy ending. Everyone kind of gets what they want, and that's it. That's the
Wow.
movie. Yeah. Lance Reddick is in this as well.
Yeah.
And with the little screen time he does a lot. He does a lot to like ground Synchro Wall's character.
Mm.
But if anyone is looking for a white man can't jump um, remake that stands up to the original, they're not going to find it here.
I find it disappointing that there's not a lot of like basketball spirit in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to chalk it up to that the original had more spirit because
Mm.
we've seen Air come out and that doesn't even have any like basketball games in there, but you can feel the basketball spirit with
Yeah.
Damon's like performance in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a
I
bit
mean,
tough that, that's not present here when there's physical games being played.
yeah. And I think they wanted to update it, but I think they lost some of that pacing that made you actually give a shit about the stakes of the game, the stakes of
Yeah.
these characters. If had they actually gone in and kind of slowed it down a bit, because the movie flies by at an hour 42, it goes by at a clip that's actually it's actually really really good, like the
Wow.
pacing, but
Yeah.
it's so well paced at the end that we don't get a grasp of what someone's losing or winning,
Hmm.
and they wrap it up so quick. Whereas the end was almost like this sort of really down and out kind of bluesy Eric Clapton on guitar, kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Because Sydney kind of he gets what he wants. Wesley Snipes' character gets what he wants at the end. He's able to do what he needs to do for his family. Whereas Woody Harrelson's character, he might win the money, but he loses his girl. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And those are the stakes that he was willing to play in order to get that money to win the game because he's a
Yeah.
gambler in the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, same sort of stakes, but hey, she comes back at the end. You know what I
Jesus.
mean?
Well, that was a big thing because Harrison's character from the beginning, you can really see the vice of a gambling addiction,
Yeah, yeah,
and they played into that perfect, to be honest, because
yeah,
fucking Harrison can play the addict really well.
yeah.
So maybe that's another thing as well. They needed to really just fucking play the fucking game so that you can see
Mm,
uh the evolution, I want to say, but there's another word for it. But yeah.
yeah. But yeah, still an interesting watch, even just from a comparison point of view. Like that's kind of the big thing for me when I watch remakes is that there is a comparison, and sometimes when they get it right, like Evil Dead, when they get it right, is like bang, everything kind of just explodes in like fireworks, and it's mad because everything works, it gels. When it doesn't work, it's
Mm.
sort of like the exercise on why doesn't it work. Yeah, for me, it was pacing.
Wow. Okay.
Like they paced it too well. Um, yeah, and for our last movie that we checked out this week, so massive thanks to Universal Australia for inviting us to the Renfield premiere. Renfield is the story of Dracula's familiar, Renfield, and what would happen if you know he had just done that for like 100 years, picked up, saved Dracula's ass, brought in people to eat, just kept like, doing that, rinse and repeat for 80, 90 years. And what happens when he finally wants a little piece of the world for himself?
Yeah. I like the scope that they took with this. I thought that was really good, and I think they really they presented it really well with the whole
Yeah.
we've been doing what you've wanted to do for all these years, and now I finally feel like I need a little piece for myself.
Hmm.
Like not just a piece, but peace as well. World peace. And I reckon Nicholas Holt did that pretty well in this too.
Yeah.
I've been trying to work out the whole time if it was his natural accent during this movie too,
Yeah. Yeah.
or if he was
I've
hamming
no
it up.
yeah, I've no idea how he sounds in real life.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like the movie was tonally trying to do a lot. Like it
Hmm.
was a comedy, right? And
Yeah.
in a lot of comedies, it would have been rated PG-13. The violence would have been kind of dumbed down, but they went ultra violent with this one,
Yeah.
which was a massive surprise for me because that means like it's kind of meant for adults. They can do a lot more with it.
Yeah.
But everyone's kind of playing it really, really campy. It's extremely self-aware. I thought the whole movie was self-aware that like the absurdity of Dracula existing in modern day and this shit kind of happening because everyone knew about him. It wasn't like he was a legend, as in like a story. It was like it was a real thing. Like Dracula exists in this universe, and he's a real person.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not 100% sold on Nicholas Holt as a lead actor.
Hmm.
I think he plays really, really well in an ensemble. I'm not saying that say that his performance was bad. Um, but if they didn't have Nick Cage in this movie, I think the whole thing suffers
Yeah.
tremendously.
True.
And, and I think for me, it wasn't when he was doing the normal "It is I, Count Dracula" sort of vibe. It was when he broke that and he was doing the hey, hoo, ah.
Yeah. Um. Fuck. I had a train of thought there, and I was just thinking about something. But yeah, I think a lot of their time on screen together was the highlights for this film as well.
Yeah,
Like going through that sort of maybe we can do this and then getting the shit kicked out of you for presenting an idea as well.
yeah,
Like I know I said it before, but really leaning into that toxic relationship, I
yeah,
really liked it on screen.
yeah,
And then later on, when he does have a piece of his own, like, he has his own space, things like that, and Dracula does show up again, and they have that conversation where Dracula's almost like the gaslighter in the relationship.
yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yep.
Hmm,
All right.
hmm,
Yeah.
hmm.
It's only Cage that could have brought that character to life, I think,
Yeah.
because he said that he based that off of his dad.
Oh wow.
That's how, yeah, his dad used to kind of speak. It's just hilarious. But I also like that they incorporated, like, there was the Bela Lugosi Dracula, obviously in appearance.
Yeah.
Um, there was lines from Bram Stoker,
Hmm.
and he was like, "I don't drink wine."
Yeah. I appreciated the like when they were going through the time lapse and you see them. There was almost, I feel like it was a shout out to Dracula Dead and Loving It, where that maid collapses by the balcony like that.
Yeah.
And even when he bites that lady and you hear the crunch, I was half expecting to hear the straw like in Dracula Dead and Loving It as well.
Yeah, actually, I think that's the thing that kind of helped the movie as well, is that it did feel like that sort of lampooning.
Yeah, it
Like,
was very much like a Mel Brooks type of feel in some of those scenes.
yeah. So this was interesting watching this, right? Because I had watched it PVOD the week before,
Hmm.
right? Because I already thought that Australia had released it. We just didn't get invited, and it'd been and gone. So I was like, fuck it. I won't wait until it comes out here. I'll just VPN it and, like, get that shit. So watched it, didn't enjoy it. So going to the premiere, I was like, all right. The only, like, really, really cool thing was that I got to be like cool dad because I got to bring Brody. And, like, watching it, I was so into the movie.
Yeah,
And I know it's on the bigs, like, it's on the big speakers, on a massive screen and everything. I w- Weirdly, I was watching this thing through the week. There was this guy talking about mixing movies, and when you mix it for the theater, it's at 85 decibels. So for anyone, like, that's like a reference that they kind of use. That's loud as shit. That's like movie theater loud, right? He said he played the same scene, that this audio engineer said he played the same scene for this director, just 3 decibels lower. And the director was like, why am I not emotionally invested anymore?
mm,
And it's like, because you're not hearing the music at full volume. You're not hearing, like, all the bass hits and everything. So it's even from 3 decibels, watching it at home versus watching it in the theater, chances are you're going to enjoy that shit more in the theater.
yeah, 100%. One thing coming out of this movie, and I don't know if I'm just fucking inceptioning myself when I say this, but I feel like I can't watch this movie at home regardless of the sound, because the same vibe I got from this, I got from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, where I really enjoyed it in the cinema, but then
Ooh.
if I hype it up and watch it at home, I'm not going to enjoy it as much.
Yeah, it drags at home. It's like
Yeah?
you're like yeah, because it's almost like you're swept up into the bullshit. It's like that 3 decibels just lifts you up into it. It just, like, takes you on this fucking trip. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think this was a perfect cinema movie. It felt like a crowd pleaser. It felt like everyone was like, "What the fuck is this movie?" right at the start,
Yeah.
and then Cage dropped his "ooh," and everyone just, like, like, pissed themselves laughing and just got into it.
Yeah. 100%. Also, shout out to Ben Schwartz in this movie. I thought he was a fucking classic in here, man. As Teddy Lobos. Fucking
Yeah.
hell, he killed it. But I think that's the thing. Levity brings more to this film. Because if they made this as a serious movie, fucking hell.
Yeah, I would have looked at the fighting style a lot more differently if they had brought that levity to it. Oh, sorry, if they had to play it seriously and he just started breaking out in these fucking windmills and fucking, like, big kung fu sort of set pieces and stuff like that, it just wouldn't have worked for me. So the tone and the style that they created for this movie, just, yeah, it works with everything that they kind of got. If they had changed one piece of it, fuck, it would have just, like, or it would have been dead on arrival. The
100%.
the the sore point for me in this movie was Aquafina. Aquafina?
Aquafina.
and I don't know. She's dropping her black girl shtick that she was doing before. I didn't even know if it was a shtick. I've seen Asians on TikTok talking black in their black set, in their black scent, and like they're completely unapologetic for it. But she just she's it doesn't seem like her in this,
Mm,
and I don't know. She just holds herself like a 7-year-old man, and it didn't feel like this was the right part for her.
mm. Yeah.
And I usually like her, but this just she felt out of place. It felt like she was the one that was trying to play it straighter than it actually was. There are some scenes where she's hamming it up and whatnot, but
Yeah. I think with her character, they just needed to tone it down. Um, because, like you said, she's leaning into the more serious side. She's pulling a Leslie Nielsen, but there's more eccentricities to it.
mm,
Like, if they had someone else, if they had a male actor in this role and it was more like a buddy cop when it came to that, I think
mm.
it would have worked. But then obviously you lose the love interest, which is something you need to introduce somewhere else.
It's weird because I didn't feel the love interest part in this. I know that
Yeah.
that's what they were going for and hinting at and whatnot, but it felt very like sexless.
Okay.
Did you get that feeling? I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but I felt like they were not like they were just like friend zoning each other.
I think it was very well, this is the thing, right? I don't know if it's very fucking like deep into it and I'm just overthinking it, but with a lot of toxic relationships, you do put up a lot of emotional walls.
Mm,
So you
yeah,
either self-sabotage or you just don't know how to act around people you're interested in. So it
yeah.
could be that, but maybe I'm just reading into it too much as well. Because Nicholas Holt was very much from a man from another time who had a wife and kid, spoiler, but maybe he's still carrying that same sort of courting mindset from those days as well, because he hasn't been with anyone else in the last 80, 90 years too.
So he would like basically need to propose first in order to free the dingaling.
Yeah, 100%. It's kids straight away.
I don't know if he's got any live ones in there. A steady diet of just bugs and shit.
This man is skeeting cockroaches.
It's disgusting.
Can't believe I said that with a straight face.
I know.
But I think overall, this is a great date movie. I think it's perfect for that sort of. You want to have a laugh. You want to see something like super violent or just something just super light. This is what you go see.
I also think like this is a good breakup movie.
Hmm.
Like like going in there and just kind of letting it vent for you.
Yeah. Just let it ride.
Uh yeah. Or like if you got a real dick boss at work, check this one out. This one's for you.
No, for sure. But honestly, if I was going to give this a score, I'd say this is your perfect 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I think so too. It's middle of the road for sure because it could go any way.
Yeah.
Like I see, and the reviews were pretty divisive on it, but I can see people like sort of yeah, I didn't kind of go for it, or people just getting swept up with that 3 decibels and just rolling with it, man.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it the same 2.5, two and a
Yeah.
half for the twosies.
What would you do with the half of the hand? Is it like
Jesus. That's if I sat on the glass floor and I just looked up. 2.5, is it? But yeah, that is a wrap. It's all the reviews. Stay tuned next week. Um, It's the finale for Ted Lasso. It's the Yellow Jackets finale. It's I think it's the Succession finale as well. All roads lead to this. Fast X.
It's been a long day.
I don't know why you went full falsetto with that.
Oh man.
But yeah, love yourself. Oh yeah, actually, follow us on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Check out our YouTube page. Give us a like and a subscribe there. Helps us get more traction, get more access, and bring that shit right back to you. And love yourself. Love movies.
Vape more, smoke less, and wash your ass.